Hey, house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 27 updates and spoilers. Are you ready for a wild and wacky day? Because it's gonna be. I hope you're ready for the ride. Ooh, we got Edgar, Wendy, and Isaac the cats, Dawn, Kathy. Hello, everybody. Our house guest of the day, we have Annabelle Anderson. Thank you so much for the happy mail. You are so sweet. Thank you to Sandy Lee. And we also have Virginia and Jason Morellas. Thank you both so much for watching with us this season and past seasons. We appreciate all of you so much, and we cannot thank you enough. So if you guys want to be house guests of the day, send us an email to madrosed@gmail.com, and we'll get you on the list. I thought that said Blake Lively was here. Blake, hello, welcome. Aja, welcome. All right, so last night was eviction night. We had Ava, Catherine, and Kelly up on the block, and Kelly won that blockbuster competition again. I gotta say, good for her because she has been able to keep herself safe every time her back has been against the wall. So I may not be the biggest Kelly fan, but good for her for doing the damn thing. Yeah. So then we had Ava versus Catherine up on the block, and Catherine was evicted by a vote of 7-1, the one being Lauren. And it didn't seem like anybody was really upset about Lauren voting against the majority. If you're upfront with people about giving a sympathy vote, they're usually okay with it. But anyway, Julie let us know there's only one more eviction before the jury starts. We also found out Angela is going to be at the Power Veto competition. Angela from last season. If this is your first season watching, you're going to love Angela or you're going to hate her. You're going to feel strongly one way or another about her. I'm very excited to see her come back. Also, Julie teased the return of the mastermind for next Thursday. Oh boy. I don't know what that's all about, but I guess they're still doing mastermind stuff. It's been a while. We'll see what happens. But the feeds came back around 9:53 p.m. last night, and we find out that the HOH competition was some sort of a memory comp, and it came down to Kelly and Keanu in the end. Kelly and Keanu. So Keanu won HOH. Oh my God. You know we're in for a wild week. Because, like, who knows what Keanu is going to do? It's going to be wild. I just have to answer this real quick. Christina asked, is that my mom's sweater? No. My mom and I actually bought the same t-shirt at Sam's Club. She wore hers yesterday. I wore mine today. I almost wore mine yesterday too, but then I saw she was wearing hers, so I held back one day. But anyway, yeah, so Keanu is the HOH. And who knows what to think, right? So Morgan and Rachel were chatting in the bathroom, and Morgan's like, oh, I don't think that Keanu is going to put you up on the block, Rachel. And I think that there's a chance that all 5 of the judges can stay this week. And again, the judges are Rachel, Morgan, Vince, Ashley, and Will. So she's saying if Kelly had won, she would have taken a shot at you, but Keanu will not. Morgan feels like she could be going up on the block. Yeah. But she says, depending on who else goes up, like Mickey, our alliance might be able to make it through this week intact. It could be okay. So she was like really nervous because she didn't know what was going to happen. But at the same time, she's trying to talk herself into comfort. You know what I mean? Like she's trying to reassure herself that it's going to be okay. So a little later, Mickey and Rachel are chatting, and Rachel was sad because she's really missing Brendan. So Mickey's trying to hype her up, and she's like, oh, Brendan's so proud of you. This is the first time that you're playing without him, and here you are in the final 10. Like, that's amazing. And I do have to say, it really is amazing. I feel like Rachel is playing the best that she ever has on this show. I think she has really come a long way. As for what's going to happen this week, Mickey says maybe Keanu will surprise the hell out of us. We don't know what he's going to do. And Mickey says, he's delusional. Yeah, a little bit. But Rachel says, I guess we'll find out. And Mickey's like, yeah, very quickly. And she says, whatever happens, it's been fun, right? Mickey knows she could be in some danger this week for sure. She's going to try to think positively, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so Morgan is continuing to go around. She's checking in with the various members of the judges. She's having some pretty similar conversations with most of them, saying, I don't think Keanu's going to take the shot at Rachel this week, and saying, like, I think there's a good chance all 5 of us are going to make it through the week, all 5 judges. So, like, she's really trying to convince herself here. But Morgan tells Will she thinks it's going to be some combination of Ava, Mickey, Ashley, or Will going up. 3 out of those 4. And she's telling Will, don't worry, you're going to be safe if you go up on the block. We're not going to vote you out. And she's trying to figure out still, like, who would potentially go up. She says there's no way that Keanu would put up Kelly or Lauren. Correct. He's not looking to put those 2 up. He knows that they can be numbers for him. He can work with them. So he's not touching them. She also says she thinks it would be dumb of Keanu to put Vince up on the block, even though he was mad at Vince last week for not putting up Rachel. But again, she's saying Vince didn't put Keanu up. Like, he's another number for Keanu, so he shouldn't be going up on the block. And she says she feels like because she is close to Vince, she probably won't go up on the block either. Oh, Morgan. Girl, that is exactly why he would put you up on the block. He doesn't want somebody closer to Vince than himself. So Morgan also says she is ready to vote out Mickey this week in order to keep their 5 safe. If that's what it takes, she will do it. And she also said if it was between Ava and Mickey, she would keep Ava. She would vote Mickey out. Okay, Morgan, we'll see if that's what the scenario is at the end of the week. But a little later, new HOH Keanu chats with Ashley in the wine lounge. And we didn't know what to expect here, right? Because Keanu has not been the biggest fan of Ashley in the past. But Keanu says, Ashley, I want to work with you and Rachel. Oh my God. And he says, this is good for you to work with the 2 of us because Rachel and I are both bigger targets than you. So if you're working with us and people want to target our little group, you would have 2 free weeks because they're going to vote us out before they vote you out. Now, that's not necessarily true. It could be, but like if people are targeting them as a trio, Rachel and Keanu have both performed better in competitions than Ashley. So like say they both come off the block and then Ashley's left up there. She gets screwed over, right? So it's not necessarily true that Keanu and Rachel would leave before Ashley. But I do see the argument he's trying to make there about them being bigger targets. So he's not saying who exactly he wants to put up on the block, but he does list off all the people that he does not want to put up. The people that he feels good with, he's cool with them. So he's like, well, Ashley and Rachel, obviously, because I want to work with you too. He says, I feel good with Lauren. I feel good with Kelly. Ava, yes, she did put me up, but he says, I'm not really looking to put Ava up this week. Will, I feel good with him. So he literally lists off everyone except for Morgan, Mickey, and Vince. Okay, Keanu. Oh my God. So he's basically just going to copy Rachel's nominations from a few weeks ago. I'm with it. I think that's wild. It's a lot of fun. But Keanu says to Ashley, this is the olive branch. And Ashley says she will accept. She's taking that olive branch. She really appreciates him not putting her up and wanting to work with her. So Ashley asks him, what can I do? You know, what do you want me to do if I win the veto this week? And Keanu says, in a perfect world, I'd want you to leave the nominations the same. But he says, I fully plan on winning that veto myself and leaving the nominations the same. He also says he doesn't think anyone really would want to use the veto on the people he's planning on putting up. He says if somebody did use the veto against my wishes, they'd have to face my wrath. Oh, okay. So he really is following Rachel's playbook from her last HOH. But Ashley is fully on board with it all. She's like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. This all sounds fantastic. Cool, thanks. So a few minutes later, everybody's hanging out in the kitchen area, and Vince and Morgan are doing one of their too long hugs in front of everyone. Before, they were keeping this like when it was only the 2 of them in the room, like they would do their hugs that went on too long, but now they're doing it in front of other people. And other people are like starting to notice how close they've gotten and how touchy they've gotten. So at one point, Keanu's even like staring them down as they hug. See if that affects them at all. But Keanu chats with Lauren in the wine room and she's congratulating him on his win. She's like, "This was long overdue." So Keanu's like, "Cool, I'm not planning on putting you up on the block." He feels pretty good about Lauren. He feels like he can work with her. And he says, "I already have my nominations locked in. I know exactly who I want to go home this week." And he tells Lauren, "If I get House Guest Choice for the veto, I want to pick you to play because you are a strong competitor. And I'm hoping that if you win, you would keep the nominations the same." Do you think she would though? Like, do you think she would use the veto on Vince a second time? Because it didn't really work out well for her the first time. Like, yeah, she kept Vince safe, but then she lost Riley. And if she had left the nominations the same, it's possible she could have kept both of them. But anyway, yeah, I don't know if she would use the veto again if she won. But Lauren says to Keanu, "I'm good with whatever you want to do." Now, he didn't say what he was doing at that point, so I'm wondering if Lauren would be okay with what Keanu wants to do, or if she's going to change her mind on that. So then Keanu starts talking about how people have been playing really scared so far this season. He says this game favors the bold, not the meek. And he says, "I love Vinny to death, but he made a very meek, mild mannered move last week." I mean, taking out Catherine on your HOH. I wouldn't say it was like a terrible move because I still think it was good for his game, but like it wasn't a great move. I mean, he did take out one of his potential numbers, so it's, yeah, I guess it's pretty bad. I guess it's pretty bad. But yeah, Keanu says as a result of Catherine leaving, we're down another ally. Yeah. And he says, "I cannot turn a blind eye to how Vince has been playing." Do you think Lauren was crapping her pants during that conversation? Because she's like, "Oh my God, Vince is the target. Like, what am I going to do? Who's going to tell me how to vote? What do I do?" But yeah, let's put that on pause for a minute. After this conversation, Big Brother says to Keanu, "I believe you have a prompt." So they give him an envelope to open in front of everyone. And you could just see Keanu is like freaking out opening up this envelope because he's like, "Oh my God, what is this?" So he opens it up and he's looking at it and he's like, "Thank God." And he says, "It's time to pick have nots." So he says, last week's have nots get to pick the new ones. So last week we had Morgan, Ashley, and Will. So Morgan gets to pick first, and Lauren volunteers. So Lauren is a have not. Ashley picks next. Ava also volunteers. And I believe Ava was a have not week one, but she's doing it again, even though there are some people who still have not been have nots yet. So Will picks last, and he's like, "All right, who hasn't been a have not yet?" And we find out it's Kelly and Vince. They're the two that are left. So those two do rock, paper, scissors, and Vince loses. So Vince is a have not for the week, and he is already looking so distraught. It's just a bit much to me because, like, he's supposed to be a super fan, and almost every other super fan that's been on the show, I feel like they're always like, "Oh my God, like being a have not's part of the Big Brother experience. Like, even though it sucks, I still want to do it." But he's always just like, he just seems entitled to me. Like, he shouldn't have to do this. But he was all sad boy after he lost rock, paper, scissors. And he's just like, and it went on for a while. Just upset that he's going to have to be a have not for the week. But Keanu's on cloud nine. Keanu is just relieved that that envelope did not say like your HOH is being taken over. He was nervous about that. So like coming out of this have not selection, there was a little bit of drama here. Will got kind of pissed at Ashley because they were talking about how you have to take cold showers as a have not. And I guess Ashley was kind of questioning Will about how much he showered last week when he was a have not. And Will was like, "Whoa, do not be monitoring my showering habits. Like, if that's something you're doing, you need to like get a life. Like, don't be doing that. He was like legit annoyed with her. So, like, after that, she was crying a little bit to Rachel in the other room. Oh no, daddy got mad at his daughter, but they do hug it out later. I think everything's back to normal now, but like it was a little bit tense for a bit there. So around midnight, Keanu got his HOH room. And this felt momentous. You'll see. So his letter was from his mommy, and she said she's deeply proud of him. She wrote a great letter, I have to say. She was talking about how this journey, it's not just about the competition. She says this is a test of character, of resilience, and faith. And Keanu is crying. He's having a hard time getting through this letter. She tells him, keep your integrity, stay kind, and let your light shine. Now, I think that this letter is hitting Keanu extra hard because Keanu was already feeling remorseful about betraying Rachel last week, trying to get her on the block, going behind her back and then lying about it. He was feeling bad about that already. And I think that this letter from his mom telling him to like keep his integrity and all that, I think it really drove things home for him. And he was just like, oh my God, I need to like get it together. So Keanu was very emotional about this letter. He got some really nice hugs after, especially from Will, who was in dad mode. And yeah, he had a nice HOH room reveal. So a little later, Keanu and Rachel are chatting in the HOH room. And Keanu was talking about how much he really needed that letter. He says, my mom reminded me of what's important here. I feel like Keanu's mom is a Rachel Riley fan. But Keanu's really emotional during this conversation with Rachel. And he's like, I'm not proud of what I did last week. It was at your expense. I should not have done that. And he says, this letter reminded me, I don't want to win if I have to become someone else to do it, someone else that I don't want to be. And he's saying, I want to stay true to who I am. I want to keep playing the way that I wanted to when I first came in here. I want to stick to my morals and values and keep my integrity because that is the most important thing. So Keanu, that letter, it's hitting. He says, this is the perfect reminder for me at the halfway point. He says, my honesty is my strength, not a weakness. So Rachel's taking this all in. You got to imagine in her head, she's just like, oh my God, everything's coming up, Rachel. So she tells Keanu, you've had some times in this game, but you've saved yourself. You're here and you're doing a great job. And she tells him, you're a legit comp beast. You've now won every type of competition they have in this game. You've won a blockbuster, you've won power veto, you've won HOH. So of course, Keanu likes hearing that. He's also excited that because of him winning HOH this week, he's going to have the last word on who makes it to jury, right? He's going to be able to pick one person who's not going to make it to jury. So Rachel's telling Keanu, you have a lot of people in your corner. And then Keanu starts talking about how he hopes he's going to get to do more shows after this, like Rachel has done. I guess he wants like a reality TV career. I mean, I could definitely see him on The Challenge. I think he's pretty much made for that show, but I wonder how much of it is also like he doesn't want to piss off Rachel because he feels like if he sticks with her, he'll have more of a chance to like get opportunities after the show. I think that could be part of it. But after this conversation, Keanu checks in briefly with Kelly. He tells her he's so happy that she won the blockbuster today. And he was legit happy for her. And she's like, yeah, me too. Keanu says, we both won today. And Kelly says, as we always do. And then Keanu says, block party, party of two. These two are definitely tight. They're looking out for each other. I mean, at least Keanu's looking out for Kelly. I don't know. I don't know about the other one. I think they're both legit about it, but yeah. So that's that. Meanwhile, Ashley, Rachel, Will, and Ava are chatting in the backyard. And Ashley says, it's getting worse. It meaning Vince and Morgan's affection for each other. They talked about this a little bit the other day, but like it's becoming more and more apparent, and Ashley is all over it. Ashley says those two had a 3-minute hug today. And Rachel's like, it's none of our business. She says that very quickly. She's like, they're on live feeds. It's none of our business. Basically saying like the people will see it, right? So maybe we shouldn't talk about it. People are gonna see it for their own with their own eyes. So Rachel's like, no, sorry, not Rachel. Ashley says they were hugging so long that even Kelly looked. I guess that's a big deal for Kelly to look. But later, Vince and Keanu are talking in the wine room. I need a drink before this. This was so much. If you were a fan of Keanu's discussion with Vince post POV ceremony last week, you're going to love this conversation between the two of them in the wine room. So fire up those tear ducts, Vince. Get them ready. Make sure you're hydrated. Okay, so Vince and Keanu in the wine room. Vince is talking about how he wants to change the way he's playing this game. He says, the way that I've been playing so far was just to make sure that I can get to jury. And now that we're getting there, I want to change things up. He says, before I looked spineless, I looked like a weasel, and I was just trying to do whatever I had to do to get to the next week. And now he's like, I can't play it safe anymore. Like, I gotta do this for real. I need to stand on business for the second half of this game. So Vince is asking Keanu, what are you thinking for this week? And Keanu says, well, I want to make sure that someone I want to go actually goes home. Ooh, burn. But Vince is like, yeah, I would love to help with that. Now, we know Keanu has in mind a way for Vince to help with that, but I don't think Vince is going to be on board for this. So Vince says, oh, I don't know what kind of shit Rachel's going to pull out of her back pocket this week. I don't know how she's going to like try to manipulate things, blah, blah, blah. So he's like trying to throw Rachel under the bus here, and I don't think it's going to work. But Keanu is giving him nothing so far in this conversation. So Vince, I think, is feeling this. Oh, my husband's here. Yay. Thank you. And Vince is asking, are we good? I'm going to say no. But Keanu says, yeah. But he says, like, I am upset that Catherine went home, but there's nothing I can do about it at this point. So Vince is not liking the feel of this conversation. So Vince asks, I'm not one of the considerations, am I? And Keanu's like, I want Morgan to go home. He says Morgan is the only person that I really want to go home. And Vince is like, are you thinking about putting me up next to her? And Keanu says, the only reason that that's even a consideration in my brain is because you're the only person here who would actually use the veto on Morgan. And I want her to go home. So, oh wait, I gotta break away from this conversation for a second. Does Keanu not realize if Vince is on the block for the vote, Vince is going? So, like, if he actually wants Vince to stay the way that he says that he does, like, this is not the move. But Keanu is saying, like, it's gonna be good. We'll get there. But, like, what is Keanu doing? So Vince says, I would not use the veto on Morgan if you keep me safe. Like, keep me off the block. I will do what you want. He says, please, man, I really need to get to the jury phase. He says, I need this. You know how much it means to me. And Pons go home all the time. So Vince says, I'm sorry that I've lost trust with you, but if I went home on your HOH, that would be the worst effing feeling of my life. So Keanu says, I think at this point, people are going to send home whoever I want because they know that moving into this next phase of the game, I'm one of the more valuable people in the game. I guess he means because, like, he's going to win competitions. So, like, they're going to want to work with him. They're going to want to keep him happy. He says, I don't think anyone is going to openly go against what I want. Oh no. The lights went out in Georgia. No. Yeah. Hold on. Let me turn on this overhead. I'm gonna look like a witch, but it's okay. Okay. So yeah, that was very dramatic.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. So Keanu really thinks that if he says, I want Morgan to go and not Vince, that people are gonna do it. And I disagree. I do not think that that is accurate. Thank you.
Sorry, witch.
It's okay. I don't want everyone to see my witch undertones. I already have the cackle. But yeah. Keanu, if he really believes that they're just gonna do what he wants, that is very naive. So he says, that being said, there is a veto, there is a blockbuster competition, and all I know is that I need her, meaning Morgan, gone because she keeps throwing me under the bus. He still thinks that Morgan was thrown. I mean, Morgan did throw him under the bus a few weeks ago with the Mickey stuff. Remember when Keanu was straight up lying to Mickey's face and like gaslighting Morgan? Yeah, that was legit. But he also seemed to think last week that Morgan was selling him out to Rachel, but it was actually Vince. So, anyway, Vince says he's really worried that if he's up on that block for the vote, he's not going to have the votes to stay. And he's like, I need to get the jury. And if you single handedly get me there, I will owe you my life in this game. I will never do anything to blindside you or upset you. Which is crazy for him to say because he's already done it multiple times. Like, we're talking 3 times. I got you for 3 minutes. He has done it over and over again, but he's saying, like, oh, I would never do that to you. He says, this feels like a nightmare. Please don't put me up, man. Please don't do it. Vince is insisting that he would not use the veto on Morgan. So Keanu's like, I don't think so. You have consistently proven that your allegiance is to Morgan, not to me. And I want to make sure she goes home. I think Bowie is getting nervous because of my like cry talk. But Keanu says, you have already burned me 3 times. I don't believe that you wouldn't use the veto on Morgan. Oop, he's not buying it. He's been burned 3 times now. 3 is enough. So Vince is just begging for one more chance. Please give me one more chance. I'm going to go home. And Keanu says, make sure you don't. So Vince is complaining, I'm going to be weak because I'm on slop. I won't have any energy. I'm not going to be able to win. I'm not going to be able to save myself. Like, he's the first person to ever be on slop and on the block. But Vince is saying he will do anything to stay one more week. Anything? He says he will beg. He says, please, 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 please. And Keanu's like, I don't need you to beg. I need you to win. And Vince is like really emotional. He's like, I don't know if I can win. And Keanu says, that's the problem, Vince. If you don't know if you can win, then why would I keep you as an ally? This conversation was insane. It was insane. So, no, somebody said BJ. So, Keanu is telling Vince, just make sure that you don't go home. You have the power to do that. You can win competitions. It's funny because Vince has now been HOH twice, and he's like, I can't win. But Vince is telling Keanu, like, I thought you were going to protect me. And Keanu's like, yeah, I mean, maybe I'd use the veto on you if I win. And Vince is like, well, then why put me up in the first place? Why do it? I mean, the point is, if he really does want Morgan out, he wants to make sure that the veto is not going to take her down. So, like, that's why he would potentially use it on Vince after it's a sure thing that Morgan's not coming down. But anyway, it eventually comes out that Keanu wants Mickey, Morgan, and Vince up on the block. That is who he wants up there. And he says, if I can't get Morgan out, I would be fine with Mickey leaving. And Keanu says Ava also is a pawn option. And Vince is like, please do that, dude, please. And Keanu asks, well, who would be my 4th nom then? Like, who would go up if the veto is used? Vince suggests Ashley. He's like, why is she being carried? It's not fair. Keanu says, no, I'm not putting Ashley up on the block. Oh, who would have thunk it? Who would have thought? But some more highlights from this very, very long and very pathetic conversation. Keanu says, okay, wait. So they were talking about whether or not Vince takes into consideration Keanu's opinions and his thoughts on the game. And Keanu says that Vince takes whatever Keanu says into consideration and then blows it out his ass. It was very Angela-esque, which is funny because she will be in the house tomorrow for the veto competition. But he keeps saying, you've gone against me 3 times. So you clearly don't take my opinions, my game into your thought process. Like, you don't care about my game. But Vince is begging for one more chance. And Keanu also calls out Vince on his BS explanation for why he voted to keep Morgan over Riley last week. I was wondering when this was going to come up again. Because remember, Vince was going around lying to everyone saying, oh yeah, like I was told that the votes were there for Riley to stay, and Rachel told me that I could give Morgan a sympathy vote so we could still be friends after this. And then they tricked me, and Mickey flipped her vote, and Ava was forced to flip her vote. They put so much pressure on her. They tricked me, and then Riley was gone. So I was wondering when someone was going to call him out on that. Keanu says, you're telling me that they duped you about that vote? He says, there's no way that you're that dumb, bro. No way. Yeah, that was a made up story. But Vince was also trying to kiss Keanu's ass. This is where it gets like so sad. So Vince is like, you're the guy that I want to be like. Even though you're younger than me, I look up to you, man. So Vince apologizes for being an effing bitch. He's like, sorry, I'm an effing bitch. Maybe I effing suck at this game. And he starts crying. He's like, really, like, oh. He says, I didn't know that I effed up that bad with you. I should have just stuck with my gut last week and just fell on my sword, like meaning to put Rachel up. And he said, instead, I'm an effing bitch. Oh, God. Not him calling himself a bitch multiple times. That's a lot. But Vince says, you know what? I don't deserve any trust. I effing hate myself. And Vince says, my girlfriend, like when I leave here, my girlfriend's going to be asking me why I picked a girl over my best friend, Keanu, who's so strong and good at competitions. I mean, it does seem like he's going to have a lot to answer for in that department. But Vince's pity party goes on forever. And he also has the nerve to suggest that Keanu take a shot at Rachel this week. After Keanu begged him to put Rachel on the block last week, but Keanu's like, that wouldn't make any sense for my game. I'm not going to do it. Rachel is going to be the biggest target once jury starts. Why would I want to get rid of her now? He views Rachel as a shield, basically. So, yeah, he's not going after Rachel. But by the end of this conversation, Keanu's telling Vince, like, it's not set in stone yet. I feel like he's just saying this because he wants this to be over. And yeah, I'm pretty sure he was still planning on putting Vince up. I think it was set, but he just doesn't want to like deal. It's a lot. I mean, this dude is like crying in his face and like calling himself a bitch. What are you supposed to do with that? So the rest of the night, Keanu and Rachel reestablish the Frenemies Alliance. It's back on for now, anyway. We'll see how long it lasts. But Keanu says, people are going to see me and Kelly as a duo, and they're going to see you and Ashley as a duo. But we are the real duo. Ashley and Kelly are expendable for us. I don't know if Rachel's 100% on board with all that, but until nominations are set for the week, you got it. So Keanu's also talking about how he wants Morgan out. He is saying this to Rachel. He says Morgan is manipulating Vince to do stuff that screws up his game, and then that in turn screws up my game. But he says, you know what? If Vince does end up going this week, that's not bad for me either. He says, then I don't have to worry about trying to save someone who can't save himself. Damn. Okay, also from last night, Morgan, she hears the lowdown from Vince about the conversation with Keanu, and she is freaking the freak out. She's crying at the thought of Vince potentially leaving this week. Little does she know, or little does she care, that she is actually Keanu's target, not Vince. I think she's more upset about the idea of Vince leaving than herself. Girl, where is the concern for your own game? And she knows at this point that she is likely going up. That's a lot. Also, something tells me that Morgan is shocked by all of this. I don't think this was one of the scenarios that she mapped out with the M&Ms. I think this is one of the ones that got left behind. So anyway, yeah, this morning Ashley told Rachel that she had a conversation with Morgan the night before, and Morgan had said, "I don't even know if I want to play this game without Vince." And Rachel's like, "She said that?" And Ashley's like, "Yeah, I told her to take it back. I told her that's not your man. Like, you just met this dude like 2 months ago or whatever." And Morgan apparently said, like, he deserves to be here. He's been trying to be here for 10 years. Morgan. By the way, I have to mention, Ashley, Rachel, and Ava are all freaking giddy right now about being safe on Keanu's HOH week. They never thought they'd see the day that Keanu would win HOH and none of those three would be going on the block. So they are just like dancing. They're so happy. Ava's like, "Julie Chen, I'll see you at church." Like, they are in disbelief that things are going as well as they are for them. So Keanu still seemed on track to put Morgan, Mickey, and Vince up on the block. Vince and Morgan were about an hour away, maybe 2 hours from fully blanketing, blanket around, sunglasses, on the sick bed. I don't know. They're taking it hard. But Vince did have one more chat with Keanu before the feeds went down for the nomination ceremony. And Vince apologizes for being so emotional the night before. Like, "I'm so sorry." But he says, I'm really passionate about the game. So in this conversation, he pushes for Ava to go up instead of him. And Keanu is like, no. Keanu is staying strong, stubborn, whatever you want to call it. Again, I think if Keanu does actually want to keep Vince, this is not the move. He should not be putting Vince on the block. But maybe he doesn't want Vince to stay. I think that could also be a possibility here. So Vince says, "I'm nervous that I wouldn't have the votes to stay if I'm still up on the block for the vote." And he says the worst case scenario keeps happening every week. And Keanu says, "Yeah, you leaving is not the worst case scenario for me." Oh my God. He says, "If I shoot and miss and you go home, at least no more of my allies will go home." Oh, damn. Keanu is really like, wow. He's really going for it here. Vince is like, "But I'm an ally." And Keanu asks, "Are you Vince?" And Vince says, "Yes." Keanu asks, "How? You've been responsible for 3 of our allies going home. I traded 3 allies for 1. Just to work with Vince, he lost 3 other allies." And Vince is playing dumb. He's like, Who? Who are the 3? Keanu's been saying this for like almost a week now, but Vince is playing dumb. So Keanu again is saying, "Adrian, you voted him out. We could have kept him. Riley, you voted him out. Catherine left on your HOH. That didn't need to happen." So Keanu's asking, like, why should I trust you with my game? You're so quick to get rid of our allies. How do I know you're not going to do the same thing to me? So basically, Keanu says, like, "I'm tired of you picking Morgan over me." And it ends now. So yeah, feeds went down for the nomination ceremony. They should be back anytime now. And I believe we will be seeing Vince, Morgan, and Mickey up on the block. We're in for a crazy weekend, I feel like. I don't know. But if you guys want to check back later, I will post the official nominations in the info for this stream. Oh my God. All right. So I want to thank everyone so much for being here. I really appreciate all of you. And I want to give a special thanks to our super chatters. Let's see who we got. It's Kathy Miller. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Kathy says, would love a Rachel and Keanu final two. That really would be a fitting final two for the season. They have been so entertaining together, and they've been really like driving a lot of the entertainment this whole season, but also the gameplay. So I would love to see them in the final two as well. Thank you again to Kathy. Sean Davis, thank you so much. Sean says, I'm sick of Vince whining. It's ridiculous. I know. I was thinking about it today, and this would be such a different situation if Vince actually owned up to all of the moves he's been making and all the scheming he's been doing. But the fact that he just constantly whines and acts like he's like forced to make these moves is just exhausting, and it's just such like a weaselly way to go through this game. I mean, weasel is a very fitting term for him, but yeah, it's not fun to watch. Also, Catherine complaining about Rachel in her interviews. I know. I think Catherine she's gonna be learning a lot of stuff when she leaves the Big Brother bubble. It's gonna be interesting. I didn't look at a lot of her interviews yet, but I just saw a little quote here and there, and she had a lot of negative things to say about Rachel and how like important it is for Rachel to be a villain on the show. And like, girl, you do not know Rachel Riley, clearly. But Sean also says, I'm mad that Ashley doesn't know about Linkin Park. I know, I saw that clip this morning when Keanu was saying his music was Linkin Park, and Ashley was like, who's that? She's like in her 20s. I know Linkin Park was like a little before her time, but like you don't know anyone from before your time? Come on. That was crazy to me. But thanks again to Sean Davis. Action packed. Thank you so much. And they said, if I was Keanu, I would have told Vince to take this sad sack energy outside and prove you're loyal to me by blowing up Morgan's game with a big fight. Oh my God. Can you imagine? That would have been very entertaining. Wow. That would have been a very different take. I like that. That would have been interesting. Thank you so much. Can you imagine though? Because Vince said he would do anything. So would he blow up Morgan in front of everybody? Be interesting. Very interesting. Sean, my husband, thank you so much. He said Mad Rose D. Love it. Um Enjoy Natural. Thank you so much for the super chat. And what a cute little sticker, number one. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Solo Angel Mom, thank you so much. And she said, Keanu Kismet Week, what he wants will be opposite. That seems to be how it goes, right? Whenever Keanu wants something, the opposite happens. So I feel like there's a good chance that Morgan is not going to go this week. I feel like if Vince is still up there, Vince will probably be leaving, but it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out. Shane Wright, thank you so much. Shane says, I've noticed each time the veto is used this season, the replacement nominee is evicted. That's an interesting stat. That's a very interesting stat. I mean, last season we saw the veto used like every single week. And now like it's been used a lot this season too. I feel like the veto is a much bigger factor than it has been in the past lately, like the recent past anyway. But yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Well, we'll see if that happens this week. Wendy Will, thank you so much. And shout out to Canada. Wendy says water. Someone get Vince some water. Yeah, he's gonna need it because he's gonna have a lot of tears coming out this week. Katrina Oglesby, thank you so much. And she said, thanks for the update. Vince is ridiculous. Yeah. How do you think he'd handle his final two speech to the jury? Would he own up to his game or play victim? That's a really good question because it's one thing if you don't own up to it like the whole time and then in the speech you like talk about all the things you did, but like is it too late at that point? It might be. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like he might even be the type of player that would just never own up to his moves inside the house, which is just not a great way to do it because you're just not going to get the same respect. I think he would still play victim. I think he would also be like, I've been trying to get on this show for 10 years. Like he'd really be playing that up. But ugh, ugh. I don't know that I don't think I see Vince making it to the final two, but it'd be interesting. And Katrina also says, who's Will's actual number one? That's another great question. I feel like it kind of goes back and forth between Ava and Ashley. Mickey was kinda in there, but then Mickey went off the deep end a bit. So I think it was really between Ava and Ashley. I guess between the 2, it's probably more Ashley, but it's hard to say. I think he's really close with both of them. So, that's a very good question, and I'd love to hear his answer to that, if he even has an answer for that. And Indie Girl, thank you so much for the super chat. I love the unicorn, so cute. All right, guys, I gotta go. Thank you all so much for watching. Really, really appreciate you. And I will see you tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll be able to talk about the veto tomorrow. So until then, much love. Bye, everybody. Bye.